Here we go.
It's Thunderheads with Brandon Soul, Rob Larson, Justin Wright, and the dark and stormy Jason Lewis.
I can't get comfortable because I'm sitting across from Jason and he looks like a different person.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
You're not Jason.
I don't know.
Yeah, I bet you people watching are like, who's this? Who's this guest? I've never seen this guy. Does he cover the Thunder? Who is this guy?
He's the dark and stormy.
Did anyone else realize that, or not realize that Jason had as much facial hair as he apparently had?
No,
It was just face
I
pubes.
didn't.
And I don't mean to, point out how different you look, but it's true.
It's very strange.
You look so young.
It creeps me out seeing myself right now.
You'd definitely get ID'd if you went and tried to order.
I actually got beer today. They didn't even start to ID me, and it kind of threw me off.
He just turned 21.
Yeah, they were like, it's fine.
Let him slide.
Have these little Halloween beers.
Thunder on the board, fellas.
Woo! Got that win.
Took 5 games and a Devin Booker-less Suns team, but a win is a win is a win. We'll break all that down. Today, we'll talk a bunch of Nerlens Noel and how his play affects this team and its future, because there are some hot takes flying out there, and we got to dig in. We got to dig into that stuff because, I might have triggered some of that stuff within our own organization here. We got a brand new edition of the Thunder stock market. I haven't done that in a while, and we will discuss the Thunder picking up the Terrence Ferguson third-year option. They didn't pick up TLCs, though, which is interesting, at least not yet. The deadline is October. We'll get into that. A lot more today. I want to welcome everyone watching on YouTube Live, Twitch, and Periscope, streaming all there. Hey, subscribe on Twitch because I think we got like 12 followers.
We need more of those.
Yeah, we need more. We don't know how to promote it. We don't even know how to use it. So if you have like a tutorial, just send that to us too. And go ahead and subscribe on all those platforms on YouTube. You can hit that little bell. You'll be notified every single time we go live. You'll be right there with us. It's cool. And I said it last week. I want to get this out of the way. T-shirts are coming. I think they might be coming this week.
Oh.
So if you do want to pre-order one, just go ahead and shoot us a message on Twitter or something. We'll get you going and off the ground. Speaking of getting going and off the ground, the Thunder. They got to win against the Suns, like I said at the top. No Devin Booker, but we'll take it, right?
I mean, yeah. It's way better than the alternative.
Absolutely. I mean,
can you imagine if they had lost to that team?
It's probably pure panic at this point, right? If the Thunder lose that game, especially without Devin Booker. Yeah. Let alone if Devin Booker plays the game,
you're looking at a new head coach, Ty Lue.
Ooh.
Please no. Please no.
Yeah, no. But Rob, does this any more encouragement than you? I mean, there's little encouragement before this game. Did you take anything away from this game to say, you know what, I don't feel so bad? Or is it just as simple as, like, let's see something, I need more?
Yeah, I mean, I think from that game, you can really just look at those first 3 quarters, because when you're up by 20 against the Suns without Devin Booker, I think you probably do fall off a little bit. And I think that's kind of what we saw. I mean, they were up by, I don't know what the biggest lead was, 24, I don't know what it was in the fourth quarter. But, I mean, it kind of got out of hand. And so, based on those first 3 quarters, it was sort of the team that we thought we were going to get this year. They shot probably better than we can expect. So through those first 3 quarters, they were shooting 37% from 3, and so I mean that's pretty. I mean that's pretty
acceptable. You can take that.
That's with Abrinas really like non-existent.
Not at all.
0 for 3 from 3 during those first 3 quarters, and so I don't know. It's just there were some really good stuff that they did in those first three quarters that. We just kind of expected to see, and so I think that's encouraging. But there's still, I mean, there were still things that they didn't do well. They're still not moving the ball well. Through those first 3 quarters, they only had assists on like 52% of their made baskets. So that's still not good enough.
Low number.
Yeah,
but the Thunder are always going to be low there, right? I mean, can you really expect a huge jump in the assist category for this team?
I think you would hope so. I think whenever you add a better point guard and
meaning Dennis Schroeder.
Yeah, backup point guard, I should say. And so, I mean, I think that there's hope there that the ball movement would be there, and it's not, and that's my biggest concern going forward, is because that's not going to work. You can't consistently do that anymore in this league. The way that it's being defended with the rule changes and everything like that, you just have to be able to whip the ball around.
Yeah.
and so
get the open
they can't-
shot. What's interesting about that point is that, yeah, the Thunder assists, as far as I know, I mean, they're not really up this year. But Westbrook's assist rate is at 38.3%. Obviously, he's only played 3 games. It's a decent number. I'm sure that number will go up. But here's something that Oklahoma City has never had before. Dennis Schroeder's assist percentage is at 36.8, right up there with Westbrook's.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've never had a guy that does this. Like, and I know that Schroeder's not shooting the ball well, but if he's making plays for others, that's a pretty good start. And if he can continue doing that, the game will open up for him, right? I mean, that's something encouraging I can take away from these first 5 games. Like, Schroeder hasn't been very good, but he hasn't been bad either.
Yeah, I mean, he's been solid, and I mean, I think the main thing he's brought has been his passing and finding ways to get other people involved. Like, he and Nerlens have developed a little bit of a better rapport now, and
Good point.
so that's been nice to see. I think it's the thing we talked about with Raymond, where it's like he's not ever looking for anybody else really, unless he can't get his shot. With Schroeder, he's actively looking for someone else, and
he's almost forced to.
Yeah.
Because the lane is so clogged when he gets in there, and that's his bread and butter. Like, he's going to have to find someone.
yeah, I mean, teams know what to do against him right now, and then, like, we don't have shooters out there with the bench to help him that much. So.
And you did see that one play when Russ and Schroeder on the
that
floor
was nice.
together. Russ missed the dunk, but it was a really nice drop off. You got some movement from both of them, some nice action. Hopefully, we can see more of that going forward.
Yeah, I think things will continue to open up. Look, I wasn't going to go all nuts when they started off 0-4. I'm not going to go all nuts when they finally won a game. Like, there's just not a reason to overreact right now. It was the Suns. They didn't have Devin Booker. They're a terrible team with Devin Booker. And without him, just...
But Devin Booker is a guy that usually kills OKC.
Oh, yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah.
that's
a possible loss with Devin Booker there.
you find a way to win. And look, if you start off 0-5, you start to get in this mentality of, we're just a losing team. We don't know how to win. You have to, like, fight yourself every night and the team that you're playing against, even to get a W.
Yeah, they're so far on their head at that point that.
So the fact that you can sit there and get one and finally just see that one in that column, it's a huge psychological thing for this team, and I think it's something you can build on going forward. And there were a lot of things that I think they're starting to fix. You're starting to see some improvement on things that need to get dramatically better before, like, we even get anywhere near into this season. But there are good things happening.
There are some concerns, though, still. Even,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I mean, it was a
Absolutely.
7-point win, but that game was not as
Not-
close as
right.
7 points.
Yeah.
No. And by the way, that's annoying. You know,
Yeah.
when that happens, like, put it away.
Yeah.
That's got to annoy Billy Donovan, too. I think he said
Yeah,
something
he said it was,
postgame
like,
about it.
disturbing or something like that, right?
Sorry, Rob.
Yeah, and so, but like I was saying, I mean, that game wasn't as close. The Suns, they were down by 20 after 3, and they were 20 for 20 from the free throw line. The Suns were. Like, that's just a ridiculous amount of points that they got from the
26
free
for 27 at the end of the game.
It's
Yeah.
kind of crazy, but I will say, like, I still worry. Like, whenever you see Adams go out, and we're going to talk about Nerlens later, but Nerlens plays so well, it makes me wonder, like, how good can this team really be whenever it looks like your 4 best players, 2 of them are your stars, and then 2 of them play the same position. So I mean, that is something going forward, and it seems like those 2 that play the same position, you're not willing to try and find an advantage by playing them on the court at the same time. And so I think that there are still concerns there's going to be all season with shooting, because this team doesn't shoot the ball well, and then I still think that the way that this team is set up, it doesn't appear to be that it's going to lead to success, because just you have guys that kind of do the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a little bit of redundancy. I mean, I think Presti did a good job adding talent, obviously. When you add Noel, you add Ferguson, you do a great job of adding talent.
Right, and he was filling holes that we talked about for so long.
But
and,
now it's on Billy to figure out how to utilize that talent,
Right,
to Rob's
exactly.
point. And it's annoying because I feel like we're hammering this into the ground. We're beating a dead horse with this whole,
it's one of my favorite pastimes, though.
I feel like I brought it up for the first time on, before the season started, about how I was a little concerned about the roster makeup and how the weights of the position.
Right.
And now I feel like it's been a theme of this podcast for the last couple of weeks.
Well, and it makes it's almost like Billy Donovan, or not Billy Donovan, but Sam Presti got dared to zag when everyone else was zigging. Everyone else was trying to shoot, and it looked like, oh, you know what? Maybe this is the way you do it. Maybe you build up a defensive roster and try and attack them that way, rather than trying to build up all the just nut shooting and trying to score 155 every night and go win. And so far, it kind of looks like it's maybe backfiring a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, at some point it's going to. If you kind of think you're smarter than everyone for too long, it's probably going to come back and get you. Which is interesting, like, and I'm not trying to say that about Presti. You can't You can't overreact 5 games in.
Super smart guy.
Just like you can't overreact 5 games in on Billy. Just like you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like you're 5 games in. We'd like to see you utilize that talent. To your point, Rob, and get them on the floor. Get your talent on the floor. You got to figure out a way to do that.
And so you talked about how maybe the roster makeup wasn't great before the season, but I don't
mean it wasn't great, by the way. I don't want that
well,
to be misconstrued.
I mean, you questioned it a little bit, and so
it's just where the talent lies, like you're saying.
So my point before the season was I think that those two guys will play together. I think that Adams and Noel will have minutes, and I was talking like 3 minutes a game together, 4 minutes a game. Nothing crazy, not where that's your scheme, but just where you kind of take advantage of where other teams are lacking because you have 2 big guys that kind of do the same thing, but can also be a little bit different. And I think that you can take advantage of that. And Billy I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just unwillingness or if he sees it in practice where he doesn't like what he sees or whatever it is. It just, to me, it doesn't make sense. And as every game goes on and Noel plays so well,
every game he's played well. Every single game he's played well.
Even more whenever you see that.
Especially when he's out there by himself, starting and he plays this well. And I think maybe that's something that Billy sees and is like, okay, I can't ignore this anymore. But also he did start, he played them together in the blue and white scrimmage, which isn't a thing really. But,
right.
But I mean, he saw a little bit of that. I feel like it worked okay, but also
it's hard
they
to
were
tell,
way better than anybody
right.
on the floor. So it's hard to get anything from that. But
yeah, we got some glimpses last night of kind of what the front court rotation looked like last year. Right? We had a lot of Patterson and Grant playing minutes together. Patterson looked comfortable. Grant looked a little more comfortable. Obviously, again, disclaimer, you're playing the Suns, but it was more comfortable. And I'm not saying Adams is the problem. That's not what I'm saying at all. But it is interesting. Patterson finally had a good game. I think everyone needed to see that. He was shooting 10% coming in. But Rob, to your point, yeah, you play Noel and Adams 3, 4, 5 minutes together a game. I think Noel's averaging just a hair under 17 minutes a game right now in the season, and that's obviously inflated by last night. I think he played 25 minutes last night, so it's not super inflated, but he's playing 17 minutes a game or so. Play him 3, 4, 5 minutes with Adams.
Yeah,
that goes up to 20, 21, 22.
He also might have played a little bit longer last night had he not
That's
had
true.
a couple little scares there.
Yeah,
but it's game high plus 19.
I don't think that you want him to. I think even if 25, especially with Adams, whenever Adams is there, but I think 25 even without Adams, that's sort of the max I think that you can expect to get out of Noel. You don't want to play him. He's not going to be able to play 32 minutes or whatever like you get out of Adams or, a typical starter at that position. I don't think that you can expect to get that out of him. And so I think 25, 26, 20, he was right under 26 minutes. I think that's the max that you can kind of expect to get out of him.
It's so weird to me that how often have we talked about on this podcast, the attrition that Adams seems to go through? Obviously, it's early in this year, so that shouldn't be a factor, but he misses a game last night due to left calf tightness. But yet, he misses a game and comes back, or maybe he's questionable for a game and plays. It doesn't matter. Billy's playing him 35 minutes. He's playing him 36 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? That seems weird.
He's super young, but at the same time, look, you have a nagging injury every 2-3 weeks over your entire career so far. That starts to catch up to you eventually, and it looks like it's kind of caught up right now. We've kind of seen it. He's looked worn down. He hasn't looked like the same Steven Adams so far.
And it just started.
And you got to dial it back. You want to keep that kid healthy, and you want to be able to maximize that front court as much as possible. You have to dial it back for Steven Adams, and you have to give some of that time,
especially now
to
that you have
Nerlens
somebody.
Noel.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's the
Agree,
biggest
because
point.
you can't sit here and preach all season long that we want to be playing our best basketball at the end of the year and then drive your third best player into the ground
right
over the course of the season, because then he's probably not going to be playing his best ball at the end of the year.
You're not playing Russ 39 minutes in October.
Right. Yeah,
So-
it should be the same for Adams, especially when you have Nerlens Noel sitting there. What is the deal here? Well, I'm very confused.
Yeah.
The only thing I can do, and now, Rob, we've talked about it a lot on the Aftershocks on this podcast.
Every single pod that we've been on, because we do one after every game.
Yeah.
Every single either pod or Aftershock, it comes up
nice plug.
because he plays.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I'm
Listen to
company
them
man.
Aftershocks.
Company man over here. So, but it's so frustrating. It's not it's just that's all it comes down to. Is it's just frustrating because to me it doesn't make sense. And maybe just try it. Like I just want to see it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe maybe it won't work out, and maybe that's why he's not doing it. But whenever you start out 0-4, and there were times in there where you, especially early on without Russ, when you were getting out rebounded, it was like, why not do it? Let's just try it.
Yeah, I mean, perfect example is that first game against Golden State when they were just killing us on the boards.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think it's coming. And what I was going to say is that every single podcast, I feel like we talked about, well, I think Billy Donovan has a game plan for each game and maybe has him in sections of the season, 5-game sections or whatever. Maybe that's probably giving too much credit to Billy Donovan. I don't know that would be true, but it kind of seems like it. I mean, we haven't seen a lot of curveballs from Billy Donovan early this season. Justin, I thought you brought up a good point. Either last night or today, only 3 people made a 3 last night.
Yeah.
So this is still a concern. Now, it's weird. The Thunder won last night, and I don't want to be negative. I'm not trying to just sit here and harp on.
I mean,
stop dogging
we're going
on it,
through
man.
concerns now, and then we'll get to the little bright spots in a second.
Good point.
Don't worry, we're not all negative Neds.
Yeah, 4 of them from Paul George, 1 from Grant, which is interesting, and 2 from Patterson. Russ doesn't take a 3. Schroeder only takes 1. Rob, the stat you just gave at the top of the pod about through 3 quarters, they shot 37% or something.
Yeah.
That was more encouraging than their in line, which is 7 for 24.
But whenever you say like only 3 guys made threes, like I feel like it was as a whole, it was the right guys that were shooting the threes. Like you said, Schroeder only shot 1. Russ didn't shoot it at all. Ferguson 0 for 2 and Abrina's 0 for 3. Like,
I mean, there were only 7 taken by other guys in this case,
but I think that those you had the
That's
right
0 for
guys.
7.
You had the right guys taking those shots though.
Agreed.
And so even though there were only 3 that made it, I still feel like it seemed like, especially as they're making shots, whenever you do shoot 37% through those first 3 quarters, like I still feel like that's going to correct whatever. Everything's going to seem better whenever you finally start making shots. But like that disparity of those 3-point attempts seems good to me. Like you'll take that.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, it's also good. I mean, they shot at least 50% from the field overall. Like they were at least getting in transition a lot last night.
They were getting
that
good
was
shots.
like a good thing.
Yep, I agree. And a more comfortable Paul George and his getting some natural shots. And obviously, man, Paul George just looks better like anyone, but especially him when shots are falling. Like he's taking contested jumpers, and that's kind of what he's going to do. But when they go in, man, that guy's fun to watch. When they don't go in, he's frustrating as hell. So that's just something that you're going to have to deal with, and hopefully they start to go in. He shot 9 for 15. Russ 8 for 13. That's 2 straight games they shot well, right? Mm-hmm. Or was that? I'm thinking the Kings game. That's a lot of games ago. Guys, they're blending together on me.
Yeah, all those losses
they're just blending together
merge
on me.
into a game.
Well, let's move on to Nerlens Noel because we got to talk about him, man. He earned this one.
I just don't see why he's not playing together with Adams. You know,
that's a great point.
Just let me go back there.
But honestly, how does it affect the way Donovan last night alone? How does that affect the way Donovan uses him moving forward, or does it at all?
I don't think it does.
Rob, I just want to point this out. I feel like that you really don't have faith in Billy Donovan.
Well, here's the thing.
And that's not. I'm not attacking you.
Billy.
It's
has
okay
shown,
if you don't. Just
Give
come
me
out
them
say
hot-
it.
No, I
sticks.
I think obviously I don't. Like,
Do we need to cue the Rob Sizzler?
No,
Do
not
it
yet,
right
not yet.
now. You do not have to ask me 2 times.
Here's what I'll say. Like, I don't think it changes at all because Billy wants to see Nerlens out there without Adams. Well, he did, and he played well. And to Billy, that probably says, yeah, because Adams wasn't out there, he didn't. That's why Nerlens was able to do so well. Like, I don't think it changes Billy's. I mean, Nerlens was already playing well. Like, I don't think Billy needed to see him go for 20 and 15 or whatever he was to say, okay, yeah, no.
Yeah, like maybe
Yeah,
Nerlens' best game of his entire career, let alone like the season. Like
Someone
one of
said
his best games-
it was his most points since he was with the Sixers.
Yeah.
Like for sure. But I mean, like you were saying, if you just extrapolate what he was doing with Adams, like with his little bit of time on the floor, like if you just pull that out and say, okay, well, if you had this many, like this is kind of what he was expected to do. Like you would just assume this is what he would do. So it's not like it's news to Billy, I don't think.
Yeah.
Just what incentive does Billy Donovan and the organization as a whole have to not play Nerlens Noel more minutes? So like, what would it be? Could it be you don't want to drive his price up too high because you'd like to retain this guy next year? You'd like to give him a reason to resign?
Seems like it'd be more important to win games.
Yeah, I think there's no way. I don't think it's that at all. Like I think I don't know because we saw the same thing. Like whenever he was with Dallas and he didn't get to play with Rick Carlisle,
Which is amazing looking back now.
There were times,
by the way.
but there were times whenever I would see, which I think Rick Carlisle is the second best coach in this league, and there were times whenever I would watch the Mavs and I would see Noel play, and I was like, holy cow, like he's really good. Like I didn't watch a lot of Mavs games, but like whenever you would watch him and he would look really good, he'd be like, man, I don't know why he's not playing more. It's kind of this, like, I don't know. He seems like a really good locker room guy. Like it can't be anything.
He loves hot dogs
off the court. Like I don't.
That's good.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't think he can handle a ton of minutes, but more than what we've seen at times in like 13 minutes a game that he was getting whenever Adams was in there. Like it has to be more than that.
I know what it is. Secret playoff weapon. Obviously. That's the answer to any strange Philly.
The only problem is that you can tell he's good. Like they can already see. So when that guy comes in, guard that guy. I don't know. It's just I don't know what it is.
Well, it's weird. Like Grant was not the starter to begin the season. Then now he's taking over the starting role. Kind of the same thing with like you don't want to put Jeremy Grant as a starter because you want as much floor spacing, as much shooting as you can possibly get. And Jeremy Grant is not a polished shooter by any means right now. And so I feel like Billy Donovan's hesitant to pull the trigger on having both Steven Adams and Nerlens Noel out there at the same time because you don't know. You could now if you've got the two of them and Dennis Schroeder and Russell Westbrook, you could just run two sets of pick and rolls on and off the ball the entire time. Like the defense wouldn't know what's good. But there's no flow to that. That's not a good offensive scheme. I think he's worried about ball spacing. I think or floor spacing, ball movement, and things that you can't do when you've got two big centers in a league that's moving away from that.
But I guess you could just, from the other side, say, well, Nerlens Noel is good at some of those things.
Yeah, I agree.
He's a good passer. He's good at keeping the ball movement, and he's only going to help your offensive rebounding. Like he got, I think, 6 offensive rebounds last night. He's obviously not as good of a rebounder as Adams, but maybe you ask him to pull back and play defense in transition. I think that you got to use, it's the old adage. It just put your 5 best players on the court.
Well, a big point to me is you could just kind of reduce Adams' minutes a little and not put so much strain on him, and then you're kind of equalizing the minutes, and then you don't have to worry about playing them at the same time as much. Like it'd be nice to see a little, but I don't think you have to have that.
I agree.
I think you can overlap. My point is though, you throw Jeremy Grant in there, things get better, and eventually you win a game. But at some point you have to look at just like, even if I don't think it's going to work, I've done things that I didn't think were going to work. I specifically didn't do them because of that, and it turned out to Corey Brewer. Go back to last season. Right. We didn't think that Corey Brewer should have been the starter. He goes in there, and all of a sudden something clicks with that starting offense.
Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes the thing that doesn't make sense is the thing that works.
Well, I think that's what's so weird is a couple years ago you see Donovan use the hell out of the Adams-Cantor combo.
Thing, yeah.
I mean, this seems like a better mesh than that did, right?
He's going against his own strategies.
Well, and just to so the guy Nerlens is averaging 16.2 minutes a game, 7.2 rebounds. He's averaging the same amount as Jared Allen, other centers in the league. Jared Allen. You have Al Horford. He's averaging the same amount of rebounds per game in 16.2 minutes. Horford's almost 29 minutes a game. It's just, I don't know. I don't know how you could look in an era where numbers are key, like where these statistics, where guys excel, and I just don't know how you can see him play so well and just not play him more.
It's all about playing to your strengths. Like Billy Donovan wants to get spacing, wants to move the ball, wants to do this and wants to do that. It's not necessarily this Thunder team's strengths. Like you gotta utilize those strengths, right? I mean,
But basically, Rob, you're saying you want Noel to play more minutes.
Yeah,
is the gist here.
And
all in favor?
I like it.
Yeah.
And here's another one, just to beat this down a little bit more.
Yeah.
Player impact estimate, the pie score, which I freaking love.
Yeah,
I just do.
Pie.
I do. Number 1 in the league, Nerlens Noel.
No way.
23.8 ahead of 2 Jokic, 3 Lillard, 4 Giannis, 5 Davis. He is leading the league in that pie score, which is kind of, for those that don't know.
Are you saying he's the best player in the league?
I'm saying he's the best player in the league. But the pie score, basically, it's kind of like what people use as plus minus. Plus minus only takes the points that are scored while you're on the court. The player impact is going to look at the stats that you are, attributing throughout the game and during those minutes. I mean, I don't know.
Man, if that keeps up,
Mm.
if that keeps up, before we get into if that keeps up and what I'm gonna spin off of that, if you're gonna play Adams and Noel together, what does the lineup around them look like? Like, who do you put around them? Because you're gonna need to space the floor, like Justin's talking about, right? So obviously Paul George, maybe just default Paul George and Russ.
Sounds like an Alex.
Who's that third guy? Abrinas?
Yeah, I think it almost has to be Abrinas.
Yeah.
I think
Speaking of Abrinas,
you could get by with Diallo though if he's gonna move without the ball and
you
kind
won't
of play,
ever
but-
not get a rebound.
Yeah.
yeah.
You'll get every rebound.
So I was gonna say, I was actually gonna stay away from Russ in this scenario.
Ooh.
We can do that.
So
Trying to
I
bench
would
Russ,
say
that's fine.
I would say
Yeah,
Dennis.
whatever. It's just an
in
MVP.
this
but
exact
that's fine.
in this exact scenario, I would say Dennis Schroeder, because I think Dennis Schroeder is more willing and more adept at moving without the ball, and so if it does get swung around, like Dennis Schroeder can find himself in a different spot, whereas Russ is just pretty much going to stand at the back, like top of the key, and wait
Hands
for the
on
ball
the
to
knees.
get swung back out and then run a pick and roll and see where it goes. I like Dennis Schroeder a little bit better in that scenario where it's Russ and
So you're saying Dennis
Adams
Schroeder
and
is
Noel.
better
That's
than
interesting.
Russell Westbrook.
no.
Not trying to put words in your mouth, but
You just did.
I did do that.
It's interesting though. It is interesting to combine those guys with Russell Westbrook because Russell Westbrook is probably the best player in the league at getting his big guys easy shots. He is so good at that, and you give him two of those guys, two options. Like he has a feel. He already seems to have a feel for Noel too. You saw a play last night where it's in transition. Russ draws like three guys in front of him, just kind of eyes in the back of his head situation, drops it off to
nice.
Noel for a nice dunk. Like that was beautiful stuff. Noel on the other side, it just has a knack for being in the right spot too. Just
And defensively,
Mhm.
you're going. I mean, that's what you had kind of with, like whenever Serge was here, you had that guy who could protect the rim. Whenever you had like Perk or somebody else, even Adams early on. Whenever that's not his strong suit,
Right.
you have the guy who will come off of the weak side and protect the rim so much better.
Now you got two of those guys, really, because I think you can throw Jeremy Grant in
Yeah,
there.
Grant's in
He's averaging almost 2 blocks a game in this early season, but that was a thing that I think we complained about this team maybe last year, right? I mean, when you have Carmelo playing all those minutes and Patterson being that backup four, that was a complaint. Because Adams isn't a huge shot blocker, but he'll get one.
Yeah.
He'll get one here and there, and he can defend the rim. Now we got to get into this though, because it's been flying around Twitter, and we got some questions about it. And instead of answering those questions, we're just gonna do it right here. And you know,
God.
I was racking my brain about it too. Now there's Noel playing like this. The number one player impact estimate rating in the entire league, 5 games in. That's incredible. And I'm not saying there's no way that keeps up, surely. But
Unless it does.
if his stellar play keeps up, I mean, the dude's shooting like 80-something% or something.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Like,
what it
it's
was,
just
yeah.
insane. But if his play keeps up and he's just this good, does that make Adams expendable? Now, I'm not saying expendable as in this team doesn't need Adams. I'm saying maybe they can go out and get something for Adams that helps this team in bigger ways because there's a hole filled that Noel has, and maybe this team can play faster with Noel. Maybe they're just a quicker team. Maybe they're a longer team. Maybe they're a more athletic team.
So here's what I'll say. Kind of what I said earlier is I think that there's a cap on his minutes per game. And so you would have to get somebody that you would trust as a backup center. You would just have to.
You don't think you can roll kind of with what you did last year with – because you
No,
put
no,
yourself
no,
in that
because-
same position.
because
Because
here's the
Noel
point.
can't do the 36-minute thing
No,
every night.
and
He's a little frail.
And I think what we learned is I don't want Grant or Patterson playing the 5. Like it sounds good. Like the quote unquote death lineup having Grant at the 5, but that's not what it that's
It's not a
going to
long-term
work.
solution.
No, and so I think that there's just too many minutes. Like even if you could push Noel to 28 minutes a game, there's still so many minutes that you have to make up. So
Well,
if you're
I
going
mean,
to
you
tell
could
me,
hypothetically
well, here's what I'll
say-
say. If you're going to tell me you're going to get like a Tyson Chandler to on something
Like in
that
a buyout.
yeah, or
or
something that's going to be really cheap. If you're going to tell me that you can get somebody like that to play some bigger minutes like that, then I think then you have a case.
Yeah.
Because you can, there's definitely holes that there's deficiencies that this team has, and it's an interesting sort of,
The
it's something
reason
to
why
think
it
about.
makes sense is because Adams might garner the most value in return than
will.
anyone you're willing to trade.
Right.
Because you're not going to trade Paul George and you're not going to trade Russell Westbrook. So who's next? Steven Adams. And if you can get it to a team that you can get someone back that you really need, and like I mean, the Nets, I don't have anyone in
trying to
mind.
get
I don't
Alan
have
Crabb?
I don't have anything in mind. I'm just saying, like, a team like the Nets, though, they have a lot of just random pieces that can do things that the Thunder could use.
Yeah.
But they don't have a Steven Adams, like, there's teams like that they could use Steven Adams.
I just
On
had
the
a mental picture of Adams in a Nets jersey, and it almost made me cry right now.
On the flip side, it
Upset.
really feels like
I don't like
Steven Adams is this team's Nick Collison. Like, they want him to be a part of this organization forever, which is fine. Everyone loves Adams. How could you not? Everyone. And then another point, the Thunder don't have Noel's bird rights. So if you do this, you're banking on this year. You're trading Adams away for this year because if you start Noel and you play him 30 minutes a night as your starting center and you have success this year, so say you go out and you get a really good wing for Steven Adams and you have success, you get to the Western Conference Finals and to lose to Golden State. Noel's getting a big paycheck, man, and you're not going to be able to get him back.
That was going to be my point. Is like he's getting paid if he does as well as you're hoping he's going to do, and as well as he would be to get rid of Adams. Like he's going to get paid, and we already have Adams on a contract for a while. Like,
right.
Like who knows what the money would be for Noel in that situation, depending on what teams like a Brooklyn that has some money, or hey, we really want this guy, and we have no chance of getting him.
Yeah, if you had Noel's bird rights, that might change the discussion a little bit.
Yeah, and it also comes maybe, I don't know. I mean, the question was about Adams, but maybe Noel becomes expendable if he is going to continue to play. Obviously, you have to play more than like 13 minutes a game, Billy Donovan. But like, if he is going to continue to play really well, and maybe his minutes do go up, maybe that's another piece that's another bargaining chip.
Billy, play him more.
He listens. I don't know.
He'll hear it. I'm sure of it.
I bet that's why he's not doing them, because he's being stubborn, because he listens to our podcast and he's like, no,
Well,
I'm not giving them that
There's something that I regret.
And the way he listens is
at Media Day, I was standing right next to
yeah.
him for about 45 seconds, and I didn't say anything to him because I was really nervous.
Yeah.
I should have brought this up, and so I'm going to take the fall on that one.
Yeah, I was nudging you about it too.
Like,
Yeah,
that was
trying to
a
get me
perfect
to.
opportunity to give him some advice, coaching.
Yeah.
It seemed like he would have listened, like he was in a good space too
Yeah.
to listen.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Hey, Billy, Rob Larson, Thunderheads, done some coaching at Little League, different
Little League
sports,
soccer,
whatever.
No,
Anyways,
no, it's
no one's Noel. He's just playing more.
Hey, Billy, how's
Buff.
the shooting on this team? Be honest with me. I want to tell Preston.
I'll take it off the air.
You mad, bro?
Take
You
it
mad?
off the air.
Let's talk about Grant. Someone mentioned Grant.
Bright
and
spots.
starting. Is that a bright spot? I don't know. Shooting like 30% from
Well,
the field, dude.
forget about that part.
But just, they won and he played, so
He
bright
looked
spot.
neat.
37 minutes again in
That's a
that.
lot.
Yeah, 37 minutes. He's playing big minutes, and
Averaging 30 a night into the season so far, and that's with he started 2 games now, so he came off the bench. I think when we set the over/under before the season started, I want to say we put it somewhere around 22. So he's way over.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah, that's
ideal?
true.
I mean, is that what you like? Grant, look, he shot 8 free throws last night. He's not knocking down his free throws, which is a big issue. Anytime you have Grant in your starting lineup, that's going to hurt your free throw percentage.
5 for 8 last night.
Now imagine when Robertson comes back.
Yeah.
Now you have Grant and Robertson in your starting
Hack
lineup.
of both of them.
I mean, is this something that you think going forward is Grant's the starter even when Robertson comes back? Or do you think maybe things change up a little bit there?
I could see Pat and Grant's starting situation like
You're gonna
fluctuate.
start 6 guys.
No,
I
no.
like that.
No, I mean like
That's not a bad
switching them.
strategy. No,
Not-
you're onto something. Stick with it, Jason. Keep
Yes,
going.
the 6
Didn't
guys.
listen to my whole
So we're gonna have
sentence, but
6
that's fine.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
No,
Go ahead.
basically, I can see them like kind of fluctuating.
Like matchups.
Yeah,
You really think Billy Donovan plays the matchups though? Like this is
No.
something. It-
sort of was that with Boston, like when Grant started against Boston, because it
Yeah.
was Jaylen Brown and Pat would be a weird situation there.
Right.
So I
Jaylen
feel like
Brown,
that's
Jason
why
Tatum,
it
whoever you
happened, and
wanna
then
say.
Grant did a good job, so he's like, all right, well, keep going.
Right. I think we talked about that. How it was the perfect. Me and Rob did. I think.
Yeah.
It has perfect opportunity to start him
Exactly.
because you could.
You're like, well, hey Pat, this is
But
why.
to me, the weird thing though is that if you do start Grant, I think that gives you if Patterson is shooting the ball better, that gives you a chance to not start Ferguson. Like that seems like the opportunity where you could
Right.
bring Abrinas in, but if Patterson is not shooting the ball well from 3, obviously I could see why Billy would be hesitant on that. But if Patterson can figure it out, I think that then does give you the opportunity to have Grant starting, and then you can also have Abrinas, and maybe I don't know, maybe Grant starting and it's sort of leading to some kind of success on the court might like lend itself to then finally being able to see Abrinas with the starters.
Yeah. I mean, Maybe Patterson complements the bench better than he does the starters, which would be a turn from what most of us believed going into the season.
There's less pressure.
Yeah,
less pressure.
that's
You're
for
already
sure.
playing with athletes like Nerlens Noel and Dennis Schroeder and guys with length, and Patterson that can sit back there and provide something that bench unit doesn't have. Now, he can also provide something the starters don't have
Yeah.
On paper.
on paper.
And for the bench, it's not like last year where there was nobody that would get him the ball. Like now there's at least somebody that can do that.
That's a good point.
So that helps him. But I think with your question about when Dre comes back, that's when I would kind of see like, well, Patterson, if like you said, if he's shooting the ball better, I could see them moving back to him in that starting lineup because you have to have something. You have to have some shooting.
I already think you've got your answer. And it's just whatever we have going. If it really is Grant going forward, then it's going to be Grant when Dre gets back. One, because you've built up that rapport. You've gone through a few months of being in the starting lineup with those guys. And look, Terrence Ferguson, he's being used as a Andre Robertson analog in that starting lineup. That's one of the reasons why I think he's starting. Why it's not Alex Abrinas. Now it's dumb, but I think that's the reason. So when you get Dre back, it's just a plug and play again. So you don't have to worry. You're not going to try to reinvent the wheel here. You're just going to roll with what you've been going with.
That's where I agree with you too. Is like it is dumb. If you're doing it as just
that's why.
the Robertson fill-in, like he's not even close to Robertson.
No, he's not.
The team will pass it to Robertson. Robertson will put himself in a position to catch the ball, even if it's
He'll
not
move
to,
the ball.
even if it's not to shoot. Right, he puts the ball on the floor once
cut.
or twice, and he'll pass it quick. He'll cut. He'll go get an offensive rebound, which Ferguson can do a little bit here and there. But yeah, I mean, every game that goes by, and this is what's crazy is Abrinas went 0 for 5 last night. But every single game that goes by, I'm still thinking that he needs to be starting in this current position with this team. 0 for 5, like he got good looks. His defense was okay. It was pretty good.
His defense in that Celtics game against Kyrie was kind of encouraging.
There really hasn't been but maybe 1 or 2 moments this year so far where I'm like, oh, there's Abrinas. But, I mean, that's going to happen.
Lou Will turned him around a couple times in that Clippers game.
Right, but
that's going to happen.
Lou Williams, he's going to do that to most players.
Yeah.
I like it. The biggest thing that we had questions of was his defense. And just like you guys said, like if he can show that he can play an average NBA level caliber defense out
just be
there,
able to stay on the floor.
and he can shoot, it becomes a no-brainer to you have to play him, right?
Yep.
You've got to let him put up shots. You've got to let him score for it, especially when you can't hit shots out there and you know that he at least has the potential to at a high level. You got to get him out there.
So what do you
Unless you're
expect?
Billy.
What do you expect from Ferguson going forward? Because he played 27 minutes.
Probably his
obviously
best game of the year.
Yeah.
No
So-
Diallo.
Yeah.
And so
He had 6 whole points.
against the Celtics, we saw him play just
back.
under 14 minutes. And then no Diallo, he plays 27. I wonder, I kind of thought that what we saw against the Celtics was kind of what Billy was expecting. Maybe 15 minutes from Ferguson until Robertson comes back. And I don't know. So now, I don't know. I don't know what to expect.
I don't either. I really don't. I mean, it seems like they're not going to give up on this guy. That's what it seems like.
Didn't you say they picked up a...
Yeah, they picked up his option, which we'll get into in a little while. We'll get into it in notes. Which is a no-brainer, by the way.
I like to jump ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to do that. It's a rookie scale contract, and it's cheap, and you're going to do that. You're going to believe in the guy that you.
I mean, he can
drafted.
jump.
And
He can jump so
he's
high.
still. I mean, he's so young. Like it's still. I mean, even though it looks rough, like there's still hope.
And
that
he
he's
had-
gonna
20 years.
turn around.
He had good moments last night
Yeah,
against the Suns.
he
He
did.
really did. He got his hands in on some balls, and
Some basketballs too.
yeah, the
Tell you what.
basketball.
There we go.
But
Okay.
you know,
There's the Brandon.
he had a little more confidence running the floor in transition, where Russ could look ahead and feed him the ball. Obviously, again, it's the Suns, but I don't know.
He's using that backboard nice.
Yeah.
He's at least doing that now.
Yeah.
Because he was before just right over the rim.
Mm-hmm.
Which is good.
So
That's what you want to see.
with Terrence Ferguson, should we still be hoping and being optimistic about his upside, or are we at the point where we want to start thinking that maybe it's just not realistic? Like kind of the thoughts that
I
he
think-
might develop into something that's usable, a good rotation guy. Like, do we start to temper those expectations, or are we still optimistic?
Now, I think I said a couple weeks ago that I don't know that you can expect him to ever be anything more than a solid role player
Well, yeah,
in this league, off the bench,
Yeah.
the bench even.
I
So,
agree.
No, I don't think you can give up on Ferguson yet. Like Rob said, I mean, the guy's 20. He's 20 years or 21. I think he just turned 21 recently. But he's young. Like, he's got a long career ahead of him. He's super athletic. He's got tools that he needs to be a solid player in this league. He just has to put them together. He has to get the confidence, number one. And he's got the opportunity. He's just got to make it count. So
I'm going to quote you on that and send that to all the people on Twitter.
do it, please. I mean, and I understand. Like that's where I can understand where Thunder fans are coming from, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this has been a thing. Like, you got Paul George last year. You traded for Carmelo. Everything the organization is doing is a total, we want to win right now.
Except for that.
Right, but they're not winning right now. Exactly. So that's going to be frustrating to some fans. Be like, okay, so everything's win now, but you just are so insistent on playing this 20-year-old kid that's not very good. So why are you doing that? Like, that's not making a lot of sense.
I would just like to remind everybody that the Rockets are also 1-4.
Mm.
Tossing that out there into
We
the
should do
pool.
that every week until they're good again.
They have a really great guy on their team, though.
He's a
that's-
great guy.
Oh my god,
Super good dude. So are you guys jumping back to Pat? Are you
Okay.
guys encouraged by last night? Do you think that's anything, or is it just because he
Yeah,
was
you
playing
gotta be encouraged,
the
right?
shit Suns?
You got to be encouraged, but I think I made a point last night. I was like, maybe he's just good against bad players.
Could be.
I don't know.
Because
but
he looked incredible at that blue and white scrimmage we went to.
Right.
And
He was the best
a couple
player
of
in that
preseason
game.
games. I was like, damn, son.
But you got to be encouraged. I mean, his shot, he's a good shooter. He can shoot the ball. So his
It
shot's
should
gotta
eventually kind of level out somewhere.
What was he last night?
He
6
was
for 10, 2
six-
for 5 from 3.
Yeah.
You'll take that.
3 for 4 from free throw.
He's never going to rebound the ball very well, huh?
No. Got his first dunk as a Thunderer.
I don't know. 4 seems like a good number. Like for a guy that's
30
going to be
minutes,
on the
though.
Well, yeah. But I mean, for a guy that you kind of expect to space the floor and to be on the perimeter, and I think
Yeah.
you're going to pull, like, whenever the other team is on offense, they're going to try and pull him away from the rim anyways and
Right.
use him in
Attack
pick and
him.
roll. So, yeah.
That's true. That's true. So what are the expectations for this week? I mean, you got kind of a busy week here. Tomorrow night versus the Clippers, at Charlotte and at Washington on a back-to-back, away from home.
Also,
Charlotte's okay. Washington's in
Bad.
shambles.
Disaster.
They're
Scotty, what are you
disaster
doing,
right
bro?
But
But they have good
that being
players.
said, yeah, John Wall and Bradley Beal could
Yeah.
score 40 points each, and we
Right.
would be screwed.
When
so.
is Dwight Howard getting back? Does anyone
his
know?
butt hurts, apparently.
true?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a buttocks injury.
I thought it
A
was like
buttocks
the
injury?
yeah, it was
That's
like,
what it said
I
on
thought it
the...
was like a nerve or something.
Yeah.
In his butt?
Because
Like
wasn't...
something that runs down his I don't
Sciatic
know. It's
nerve?
Dwight Howard. Who cares?
Butt
Like, I
nerves.
don't know.
But
It's the butt nerve.
the first week, he didn't play because he hadn't practiced enough.
Yeah.
And then he hurt his butt. Is he
I wonder
just...
what he was doing, you know?
He's probably just going to retire.
Wait,
on
from
him, just
sitting?
Like, I'm just kidding.
Like they weren't playing him, and so his
The
butt
bench.
hurt because of the.
They need to get better
Ah.
chairs
Gotta
over
get
there.
those padded
Yeah.
heated seats.
Yeah.
You know? Mayo Myers from Periscope said... no, wait.
All right.
Somewhere in here. He said something.
Good to know. Moving on.
Apparently, Noel and Adams are both questionable tomorrow.
Yeah.
Against Clips.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
thanks.
They went away somewhere.
that's true.
Well, we also knew that already.
Yeah.
But, so that might affect... Yeah, I know that we do.
No.
Just talking about, do you think that's going to hurt us against them? I mean, they...
Well, that they don't.
Well, yeah, that would
Yeah.
hurt. But I mean, I don't know. Like I always take that with a grain of salt when the Thunder announce
Questionable.
someone questionable. Like
'Cause
I
they're
feel
just
like
I
they're
super
also
safe.
I also wonder if Adams would have played if it wasn't the whatever the 5th game of the season.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
he was a
And
late scratch. Like they
and-
totally planned on him playing. So
well, they didn't
maybe-
even count him out of the game until
Yeah.
later.
Which
like
is
the
weird.
second
Why would you
quarter.
do
That was
that?
weird.
Like you're gonna bring him back in the second half. Like
Yeah.
what? Why?
Why even do it?
At least they benched him. I mean, going back to what we were talking about earlier, at least you finally sat there and like, yeah, maybe he's a little bit too banged up. Let's give him a night off finally.
And to that point, I would say 3-0 is what we expect.
Ooh, wow.
3-0 is what, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think you can.
I
From
expect
this
it.
team?
A road back to back is tough to expect.
Come
that to me.
on.
No, I mean I understand what you're saying, but like, you made my point for me. I feel like
No.
you said
Made
from
my point.
from this team. Well, yeah, exactly. From
yeah.
this team. Have you watched?
Don't
this
use
team?
my words against me.
But I will give you 2-1. I will give you 2-1.
2-1
What we
seems
should
like
expect-
they should.
what we should
They're
expect-
1-4.
Yeah.
They lost to the Kings at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying I don't expect a 3-0. But what we should expect from the team we thought we were getting is 3-0 for sure.
They
I don't
should
even
go
think so.
3-0.
But okay, so if
They should go
but if
3-0.
they were 4-1 right now,
They'll be favored in all of those games, right? All 3 of those
yes,
games, they'll
Should
be
be.
the favorite.
I think so. But if they were 4-1 right now, 2-1 would be an acceptable outcome for these next 3 games. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
I think so. I think
It's
because-
acceptable,
it
but
would
I'd
be,
rather
yeah.
have the 3.
But so
But it's not. I feel like this is. I don't know. Like
no, I understand where you're coming from. I'm just saying, like, I don't know if I can put the pressure on this team to say you need to go 3-0.
I don't
the
think.
stretch.
No, they don't have to go 3. And I expect them to win these games.
Why
but
do you
I'm not
set
say-
yourself up for sadness?
I don't know. I just really want them to do
like
good.
Well,
Guys,
I also
just
do.
really well and
Yeah.
win.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll say this. This is the most fun we've had this season in a podcast because they finally won a game.
Yeah.
Woo!
Well,
Thanks, guys.
we do things like Rob Sizzler though.
That was pretty
when
fun.
we-
That's to
actually.
break through
That
the
was actually a
sadness.
pretty good
This
time.
is just a happy time.
Sadness is a good way to create things to like help yourself ignore the sadness.
Yeah, distractions
Yeah,
are what those
yeah.
called.
Exactly.
You said
Well, I wanted to define that word for the audience.
Just in case they didn't know,
Yeah, I mean,
Hey, I'm
we're
rowing.
an educational program.
too many
That's what we do.
syllables in that word.
I'm rowing the boat with Rob 3-0.
Ooh.
yeah.
I'll stick with you at the 2-1.
Yeah,
I'm
stick
trying to
one
play
with
it
fair.
safe.
Oh, Dwight Howard is expected to come back this week from his buttocks injury.
Really?
They're also expected to lose that game. You heard it here first.
I don't know. They never seem to play well in Washington. I feel like
Yeah, but
Well-
Washington also doesn't
Or
play very well
Charlotte,
in
really.
Washington.
I feel like
maybe
that's
they
just,
do play well.
I
In
feel like
Charlotte.
that's just a
Hey,
road
got
game.
him.
Good point.
Is Nick
Good point.
Batum still a person?
All right, we got a game.
Oh,
Let's do
okay.
this game, guys.
Okay.
I know.
I was prepared. Just playing with you.
Attention, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Bulls and the Bears of the Oklahoma City Thunder stock market.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty self-explanatory. We're creating things Thunder related as they are stocks, pretending they're stocks, and you're gonna buy that stock if you feel like the value is low and you feel like it will increase.
I can guarantee I'm going to be confused at some point in this game.
That's
but
fine.
let's go ahead.
You're gonna sell that stock if you feel like the value is already too high and it's not gonna get any better, and you might as well sell now. Or you can hold that stock if you're just not sure and you just want to wait and see. Got it?
Got it.
I'm gonna need a nod from. All right.
100% clear
Number 1.
until I'm not.
Thinking.
This one should be easy, but with this team,
Make him go. Yeah.
Oh, no.
3-point shooting. They're 24.8% on the year, which is last in the NBA. 24.8%, man, right?
I'm going to buy that stock.
It's low.
Yeah.
Never been lower.
I'm going to sell it later when it's higher.
Okay.
It's the whole
I wasn't
gist
sure
of it.
he would
He's
get
getting
it.
Yeah, I know how stocks
I
work.
thought he'd
Getting
say
it.
like
I've
hold
got-
or something. but-
I've got a...
That we have
Stock?
to do a layup at the beginning for Jason.
Right,
so
so
he
I
catches
get the
on.
thing.
'Cause
Uh,
that's a no-brainer, right?
That has to be.
I hope so. If it's not,
But is it? Like, that's the thing. With this team shooting,
I'm just going to do that face.
is it?
What's like the how far are I know they're last, but like
so last.
how much
Like a lot.
far
I think
behind?
they're 33rd. Like, they're so loud.
G League teams are ahead of us.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, so many.
They're just doing game by game. I'm like, yeah, this was the 33rd worst of any game.
I have to know how far they're
Oh,
behind.
no.
I'll look it up.
I'm
but-
scared of
All right,
this.
next I'll send this to Justin while you're looking that up. Jeremy Grant's play. Let me give you some stats here,
Mm.
Justin. 8.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, 1.5 assists, shooting 33% from the field, 17.6% from three, is getting 1.6 blocks a game. Are you buying this stock?
Look, I'm getting so much money from the from all the stock that I'm buying in the 3-point shooting that I've got some house money to play with. So I'm buying Jeremy Grant stock right now.
Mm.
That feels like an easy buy because he's got to get more efficient, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I would hope
You,
so.
especially like, look, he's not a great free throw shooter, but everyone can get everyone on this team can get better with their free throws right now. So that's got to go up. He's drawing fouls. He's getting the contact that he needs to go to the line. Just needs to get out of his own head, get out of his own way sometimes. And yeah, I think he can play a lot better, especially when he's getting this many minutes as a starter with this team. It can only go up.
I agree.
I like it.
Rob, send this one your way. How about the Thunder's defense sans Andre Robertson? They're 106.5 defensive rating, which is good for 12th in the league right now. Not terrible considering the Kings game, and they've had some bad moments here and there.
Just to remind everyone, they did give up 131 points to the Kings.
And they did do that. And
remember.
last year when Robertson went down, they were somewhere in the 20s, I believe, defensively over that stretch.
Yeah.
So what do you have here?
I am going to hold this stock. I
Oh.
think it is kind of a wait and see approach. I don't know. They look if I hadn't if you hadn't said that they were 12th, I would have thought that they were actually a little bit higher, just
Oh,
because
really?
just because of what.
I was surprised when I looked it up and they were that high.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have
I
thought
was
they
kind
were.
of surprised. At that.
So I think that's what I think I would hold it and just kind of wait and see, because at times like this team looks incredible on
Yeah.
defense.
Yep.
And so I think that they have the ability. I just don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
We'll
because
see.
I'm with you. I think that I feel like when they do look incredible, that's who they truly are, more so than when they are totally breaking down. Because I feel like those breakdowns are stemming from the offensive end.
It 100%. I think it
Yeah.
leads. It definitely leads into bad defense.
Yeah, so you could even buy this stock, but I think I'm with you on holding this stock. Jason, Paul George.
Hold. That's my answer for the rest of the
God.
time. No, I'm just kidding.
Paul George's performance, 24.2 points a game so far. He scored 20 in every game, although he's got up a lot of shots. He's not been super efficient. 40% from the field, 32% from three, which is very low for Paul George. 78% from the line, not great. 5.6 rebounds, 3.4 assists, 2.6 steals, which is a good number.
Those steals are nice. I'm gonna buy this because he's gonna get more efficient. Like he's just gonna. He's Paul George.
Yeah.
So
Is there anything that you want to see more from Paul George? Like
just the ball going in.
Well, so you think that's it?
Mostly.
You like the game that he's playing? The ball's just the shots just aren't dropping for him.
I'd still like him to be a
No.
little bit more aggressive, honestly. Like
Rob's got something here.
No, you're not. No, it's definitely bad. He's taking. There's too many bad shots that he's taking. He doesn't
Yeah.
do. He's not helping himself out, especially early on in games. Whenever he takes bad shots, like
Yeah.
I wish he would just try and work himself into a rhythm a little bit more by getting better shots, by having better shot selection.
You
to
think he
just
takes
kind of
it-
help himself throughout the whole game.
You think he takes it too heavily upon himself to be like some sort of,
Oh.
just like you got to
Leading
rely on
scorer.
him. Yeah, the leading scorer on this
Yeah.
team. That Carmelo's gone. Someone's got to step up, guy, when he doesn't maybe need to do that.
Well, yeah, I definitely think so. Just because you sign that big contract, you buy in, you want to be Russ's guy, and so you kind of take it upon yourself like, well, I got to prove that there's a reason that I'm coming here to do exactly what I said I was going to do. And
Yeah.
so, I think he's really like pressed a little bit too much on the offensive end, trying to make things happen where just let the game come to you.
And
Well-
he
well,
wants to
he's
be
also-
that guy too. I
yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and also while he's having to be the best defensive player on the team.
Sure.
And I think he's been told.
Besides Abrina.
Yeah. And he's been told by Russ, just be that scorer. And I think that's he's
I
maybe
think that
like
that's probably a really good point. I bet that I would think that Russ kind of wants him to do that.
Yeah.
Like I think Russ wants to set him up to be a better scorer or to score more, so that it kind of does help Russ. It takes some pressure off of Russ, especially early on in the game.
On that note, Rob, Paul George's usage. He's at 29.1% this year, which is up big time
Yeah,
from last year. 24.7 last year. Obviously, Carmelo's on the team. Things are going to change a little bit. 29.1 usage percentage, buy, sell, hold. What you got?
No, I'm gonna sell that,
Mhm.
I
and
think it goes down.
I think it goes down. And I'm a little. It seems really. I think that's.
But, I mean, obviously, this is inflated because Russ was out for
Yeah.
2 games, right? So,
Yeah, but I still think that whenever there's been times throughout these games where we've seen the bench look really good and the starters not look so great, and so I think that there's still that filling out process to kind of figure out who is going to play with them a little bit more. Like whenever Schroeder is out there, as long as Russ is healthy and Schroeder is out there kind of with that second unit, and Billy finds ways to include Paul George in that. Like to me, that
you think that's
spells like it seems like that would have the most success. Like where Paul George doesn't have to set guys up really. He can do that at times. Probably not what you want, but he can kind of get by with that. But I
Yeah.
think that you want Schroeder to control those moments and help and get assists to Paul George rather than the other way around. So
Last 3 games since Russ has been back, his usage is at 26.5, so it has gone down a little bit. Here's a fun stat that I found while looking that up. Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot's net rating this year, which obviously is just 1 minute from last night, is a minus 250.
nice.
Jesus Christ.
Not good.
You gotta step up his game.
Trade his ass.
Yeah. Get him out of here.
Trade him.
Don't want him.
All right, next. How about this for Justin? Dennis Schroeder's effectiveness struggled a little bit, only shooting 31.5% from the field, 28% from 3. 13 points a game, though, which is right around kind of what we were expecting, I
Yeah.
think, coming into the season. Obviously, he played 2 games without Russell Westbrook. 4.2 rebounds, 7 assists, which is a higher number than he had last year as the primary playmaker on the Hawks. 2.6 turnovers. What you got?
I'm going to be weird and buy. I think as this bench, look, they look really good. It looks like they're going to be a really cohesive, probably one of the best bench units that we've seen in Thunder franchise history. So I like where that bench unit is going with Dennis Schroeder at the head. I think he becomes a lot more efficient, plays within himself. He's got Nerlens Noel out there on the floor with him at all times, and man, that pick and roll is fun to watch. I'm going to buy.
If you just look at his points per game and his assists, like that's, I think before the season, if you said he's going to average 13 and 7, like that would have been like, holy cow, like this must be going so well.
That's a good point.
But then you look at his shooting percentages, just way worse than I thought. And whenever he drives, I feel like he's going to miss. Like I just feel like I can't trust it whenever he drives if he's not going to pass the ball.
Yeah.
But
Like
it seems like he's forcing a lot of those too.
Yeah,
Like, to me,
could be.
like,
He's probably still getting a little comfortable too. I mean, this is a brand new situation. He's played for one team his entire career.
He's getting blocked a lot too. It doesn't seem like he doesn't have that same explosiveness. Part of it's like being in the Western Conference, I think, a little bit, but he just doesn't seem to have that same like get to the glass and like put it up and he's fine. Like bigs are like keying on it, and he's getting blocked a lot more than I feel like I
and it might be the thing we mentioned earlier of he's with the bench that, and sometimes he doesn't have anybody that can shoot. Like if Abrinas isn't out there, then they're just like, well, fill the paint and do what we did to Russ when it was just him.
All right, last. Russell Westbrook's usage. We talked about Paul George's. Russ is at 31.9% in 3 games played. He was at 32.5 last year, which was a number, by the way, that went up as the year went along. How do you feel about this one? Whoever wants to go in on this?
I'm gonna just hold this. I think he's in a pretty good spot right now. Like I like the way they're kind of interchanging him and Schroeder right now. I like that they get to play a little bit together, and they're closing some like meaningful minutes together. But I don't see it going up drastically or dropping really at all. But
I'm with that.
Yeah, I think hold is the answer there.
Agreed.
I won.
Let's see what the people have to ask us, huh?
Okay.
Oh, God.
You should have really drug out that okay until you got there.
Where the hell did you put this at?
Oh, no.
Just kidding. I found it.
Social media inquiries.
What you got?
Okay, Twitters. From the Thunder Geeks at the Thunder Geeks. Is there a reason Felton has been a DNP so much other than not having enough minutes to give 3-point guards?
No, there is a reason. It's because he doesn't play very well.
Yeah.
Whenever he's out there, he doesn't point guard very well.
But can you, like, that's giving Billy a lot of credit.
It's true.
Are you okay
No,
with
but
that?
I really
Are you
think
okay with that?
I'm gonna give Billy that credit. Like whenever you see him out there, like as soon as he gets the ball, he's the mellow of it. Like as soon as he gets the ball,
He
he's
is the
shooting.
Melo.
He's not trying.
Maybe
to,
that was the issue, that you had both Felton and Melo
Yeah.
on the same team.
And they
Did
were
you
both
get rid
like,
of the wrong one?
Yeah.
but they were both
no,
like, hey,
really?
remember the
No.
Knicks? Let's just do that again.
That's
Both
true.
shoot.
Just two pudgy guys getting up jumpers. That's what we're doing. I mean, yeah, I think that Billy likes the idea of having long, lengthy wings out there, but
He's the opposite.
he's the complete opposite.
He has
of
short
that.
arm?
Yeah, like
T-Rex arms.
going into the season, I thought that Felton was going to be a for sure rotational guy because I thought that Billy wasn't going to trust these young guys, and now we're not seeing that.
I
But
thought-
maybe he's saving it for later in the year.
There were
too.
times last year where they needed Felton to shoot the ball because they didn't have. They were struggling to score, and I think it's weird. That's the role that I think maybe Felton could help with, is if they just continue not to be able to make shots. Like maybe you could throw Felton out there, not as the point guard. You still need to have Schroeder or Russ out there with him, but maybe he can make a shot. I don't know.
Maybe he'll definitely take one.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
he'll
gonna
take
take a few.
Did want to give a quick shout out to.
Oh my God, Klay Thompson hit 14 threes tonight, breaking the
Dear
record.
God.
What the?
That's a lot.
So he broke his own teammate's record. Think about that.
So annoying.
I hate them so much.
Hey guys, we're shooting under 30%
God damn it.
from
Thunder have
3.
never made 14 in a game. It feels like.
Have we made 14 this season yet? Yeah. It doesn't help that Steph just made 11 the other day, and
Just
we
quit.
just
Just
Shut
quit
it down.
Quit it.
God dang it.
Our whole team just made 7 in a game,
Quit
and
it.
it was our best 3-point
I don't like
shooting
this.
percentage
Can we
of the year.
Move ahead.
Just play
I don't know
Nerlens
why
and
you brought
Adams.
that up, but I'm
We just
very
need
upset.
Nerlens and Adams to play together, guys.
On
That's
that
the-
on that note, did want to give a shout out to at Cody McChicken and John at Pino Retread. They did ask us about Steven Adams and Noel playing together. I think we've covered that quite
Do
extensively.
you want to go
at
into
this
it
point.
some more?
Is it happening next game if they both play?
Nope.
Mm-mm.
No.
Son of a bitch.
It just doesn't feel like.
Is it?
I don't know. Like, I'd like to think yes. I'd like to think. I'm gonna
Hey,
go with yes.
I thought from game 1 it was a yes, so
Yeah.
good luck on that.
I mean, I get waiting a couple games until you try to see what you're working with here, but it's got to happen. It's time.
okay.
Yep. Well, Aaron Yount
I hope
from
so.
YouTube says, "Does it feel like Kyle Korver is inevitable to end up on this team? Seems like a Preston guy. Plus, he can shoot.
Listen,
And the Cavs are a
I wish.
disaster.
I would love that. I would love that. I mean, I
But-
think that you could get him for a second rounder and the Melo trade exception too, and that's. I
It'd be
totally.
real nice.
But he's a guy that runs off the ball like crazy. He's a JJ Redick type. Do
He's
the Thunder
like-
know how to use him? Number one.
Probably not.
Number two, is he a Presti guy? Yeah, I mean, is he a Presti guy? Number one, only because
No,
he's
he
white.
He can shoot.
And then number two,
He hasn't had any legal
yeah, he
trouble.
can shoot. But he doesn't defend real well or anything. Like, so I don't know.
He's got arms.
I think he'd be a great addition to this team, though. Personally.
Yeah, why not?
That'd be cool. I'm down with it.
Next.
I'm fine. From Thunder fans at Thunder_flies. Finally saw Abdul Nader and TLC play tonight. Nader looked a bit rusty and slow to me during those limited minutes.
As
What
he
do you
should've.
guys think? I also wonder why Billy Donovan has been so hesitant in giving them a chance to play.
The
Question mark.
Doesn't
degree
like
of
people.
difficulty for those guys is insane.
TLC got in there and just fired up a terrible
Yeah.
three. It
He
was
said,
so
"I'm
bad.
going for it,
They're
baby."
like, yeah, I'm gonna show them what I can. Oh
It's
no.
been so long.
However you say that in French, I don't know.
In Fuego?
Nope.
No,
That's
that-
Spanish?
That's not.
That's way wrong.
Seems like it's close, though. They're both in Europe.
Nope.
Well, Spain?
Nope. It's not there.
It actually broke off.
Yeah. There was an earthquake or something.
I mean, are we going to see either of these guys, to answer this guy's question, are we going to see either of these guys in the, let's say, this week?
I mean, there's a good chance if Diallo's not gonna play, I think that you
Diallo
could-
will play, though.
That was just a disciplinary.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is like if that continues, then they're going to.
Mhm.
I would expect it would be a little bit shocking if we saw Ferguson play another 27 minutes. I think, but as long as Diallo's out there, then no, I don't think. I think Diallo has definitely shown enough to say that he needs those minutes. So.
I think we're going to see all three of those guys a ton because it's going to be 3 blowouts in a row.
Oh,
I
bring
like
in
that.
your
I like
usual
I
optimism.
didn't say who was blowing out whom.
Oh,
wow.
wow. Really brought it down.
It's the Thunder all
my
3
God.
times. You know what? Aaron, I was going to cut you out here because we just answered your thing on YouTube, but I really like this question, so I want to incorporate it.
He gets a
from,
twofer?
from AA Ron.
He owes
at,
us a shirt.
At
That's
a
right.
underscore. Yeah, send us one of your shirts.
Send us 4 of your favorite shirts.
I don't mean this as a joke, but I'm genuinely curious. Have you ever heard a worse television commentator than Michael Caine?
Oh.
Okay, here's the
This is
thing,
touchy,
man.
fellas.
I'm continuously hard on Michael Cage, and he seems like such a nice guy, but
He's a great guy.
here's why.
I don't know that he's a great.
Here's why.
I've seen
He's
him close up.
bad. He's so bad. Like, and the thing is the addition of Chris Fisher, him replacing Brian Davis. So I've already figured all this out in my head. Brian Davis had his little quirks, his little go-to sayings. He was pretty overbearing himself, like to a point where someone might not like Brian Davis. You might hate Brian Davis. You might be like, he's so annoying. But you can't say that Brian Davis wasn't good at his job.
Yeah.
At least for what he did.
Very
Now,
good at
did
it.
he say some inappropriate things? Absolutely.
course.
But he was good at his job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was.
I'm not saying Chris Fisher isn't good at his job, but he just doesn't have those things to take over, to
Right.
take the spotlight away from Michael Cage.
Right.
And now Michael Cage is the guy that like, oh, now I need to step up and take. No, that's the worst idea.
Yeah, quit it.
Now he's talking so much more than he's ever talked before.
And he doesn't have words to fill those talkings.
He does, but they don't make any sense.
That's what. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's not figuring it out first.
Oh,
and
man.
it's but you're right. Like BD kind of counteracted the Michael Cage badness, and now that's not there. And
I
it's-
never thought I was gonna miss Brian Davis.
I
and,
do.
and now I very
I-
much do.
It doesn't.
I've-
It also doesn't help whenever you watch the League Pass and you like hear all of these other ones, and it's like, man, this is good. This is
pleasant.
nice. Yeah, and then you go back to Thunder.
You know what I'm gonna say, partner?
That's nasty.
Yeah. But then he doesn't say that sometimes. You're like, wait, I thought you
What
were
were you
gonna
gonna
say
say, partner? Bring it back.
I think that there was one last night where it said, you know what I'm going to say, and then paused for a good, 7 seconds.
He just waited forever.
But then still didn't say that's nasty. I was like, what the hell are you doing?
You gotta be
Also,
consistent here, Cage.
Like I feel bad for Chris Fisher because this
C
is
doesn't
like
stand
his,
for
it's just like his first NBA job, And he's like, all right, this is going to be awesome. Gets in there, and it's like, I can feel him cringing
Yeah.
every time he's like,
He's gonna
you know, that's just what I do to you, partners. I block your shot.
He's
and
gonna
he's like,
slowly die inside as the
all
year
right,
goes on.
I guess you would block my shot. I'm 5 foot tall.
Yeah, like that's a stupid thing to say. Number one, and you didn't learn when it was awkward last year when you said that around Brian
To a
Davis.
turtle?
Yeah.
Said it to a turtle. Anyways.
Last one, I think.
Oh, yeah, it is. From Augustus Jumper at AM Jump Shot. Is Patterson being more confident when coming off the bench a thing? So, obviously, all in one. Or is it just a couple games he played well and he just happened to come off the bench?
Oh, yeah, that's my question.
Second one. I think it's the second one. I think it just happened to work out that way.
And maybe he has a little more something to prove when he comes off the bench. A little more like, especially after the way he played those first 3-4 games of the season.
Yeah.
3.5 games.
I
He
think
had to have felt down on himself.
I think we gave Patterson too much credit
Yeah.
off of last year that maybe it was just a weird situation where he thought he was going to be the starter. The whole Melo thing came out. Nothing really gelled last year. So people kind of gave him the benefit of the doubt coming into the season, and it doesn't
Whoops.
seem to be warranted. So.
But maybe.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for the question, guys. Keep them coming. It's good stuff. We really appreciate it. Let's get some notes.
Well, let's do that.
Got a couple nuggets here. 15 rebounds on Thursday's game versus Celtics. Russell Westbrook now has 29 career games of 15 or more rebounds, which is more than all other active NBA guards
He the best.
Boom.
combined.
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 That was a
I like how you did the pause.
yeah,
You
plot
like
twist
that?
there.
You like that?
I like it.
All right. That's pretty impressive, though. Stat pattern.
God.
Former NBA center Scott Pollard, also former Kansas player, I believe. Justin would probably know that. Dressed up as Steven Adams for Halloween, which is cool.
That's pretty awesome.
Because Scott Pollard was a fellow weird guy in the
He
NBA
was.
during his days. He was a guy that looked different every year.
Pretty spot on too. You see him
I
Yeah.
didn't.
looking like
Yep.
Adam. So
Didn't have the bone structure, but close.
yeah, he's
That's a big deal about the Halloweens.
Yeah. All right. Per Anthony Slater, the Brooklyn Nets fans continued their tradition of yelling Russell Westbrook at KD while he shot free throws.
I appreciate
feels
that.
like they just
Brooklyn.
get it, you know.
They're my second favorite team.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they just
love
get
'em.
it.
Yeah. Thunder exercised its third-year team option on Terrence Ferguson. They have yet to exercise the option on TLC's fourth-year option. The deadline is in 2 days, or 1 day if you're listening tomorrow.
And
Halloween. There you go.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, my way worked.
but if they're listening in 3 days,
Yeah, then it's that day.
that day.
If
Well,
you
the
get-
day before, yesterday.
Yeah.
If you get
Now they're totally confused. Halloween.
If
Damn
you're
it.
listening next week,
It's the 31st.
last Wednesday.
Is that a Wednesday? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's the 31st.
Okay.
You'll know because it rains. But no, that is interesting though because I think that most teams typically when they're in a situation like this, they
Just go ahead.
they
and
pick up
pick
both
her up.
at the same time. So I think this is pretty telling, which is interesting. I don't know that this gives you much flexibility.
Do you just not like the guy? Is that what they just don't like him?
It kind of seems that way right
They
now.
saw that shot. They saw
That's
that
true.
shot in
It's
that
not-
one game.
it's-
Remember when we put you in that one time?
He had a rough preseason too.
It wasn't very good.
Last one. Via Bet DSI, Thunder coach Billy Donovan is the favorite at plus 150 to be the next NBA coach to lose his job.
Oh no.
And that's not very good odds right there, guys. That means you put $100 on it, you only win 150 if Billy Donovan's
I am
the first one
glad
to go.
you cleared that up because I don't know how this
Yeah.
works.
Do
There are other choices, better choices.
do not get suckered into making that bet.
Yeah, I agree.
Because also
It's
you're
a
not going to
bad
win any
idea.
money.
Oh, this is what I need.
It's time. You got any basketballs specific music? There it is. All right, so let's do an update on the standings here. Justin's in first. He had the Blazers last
Kicking
week.
our ass.
He's 4-2.
Thanks, Bo Sox.
Jason in second. He's 2-5 overall with the Suns. Went 0-4 this week though.
Yeah, that
Not
was
good.
rough.
Still in second somehow
But
with an 0-4 week.
I'm glad to give it up for the Thunder, you know?
I don't even draw today because I have the Knicks for the rest of the month.
Yes.
I went 0-3 last week. I'm 1-4 on the month. And Rob had the Timberwolves last week. Went 1-2. He's 1-5.
I got my first win though. So
Hey,
yeah.
on the way up.
Congrats.
So first
Welcome
goes,
to the club, you know?
first
Yeah.
place goes
Feels
first.
great.
Winners.
See what you got here, Justin. First draw. He's rummaging.
What did he get?
Phoenix Suns.
Oh,
Have
I
you-
heard they're good.
Toss that some bitch right
What if
back
he
in
draws
there.
them back to back?
Oh, do it.
I didn't.
That's a fun.
Undefeated win!
So you're done for the month then. You're
And-
good.
And by rule, that's
He's
a
one.
3-0 week. So there you go.
You won, so.
Yeah,
All
you're-
right.
Not necessarily.
Second place is Jason. Put the
That's
gl-
me.
Put
Second
the
place.
glove on.
Couldn't someone technically steal this?
Yes.
So,
If they get a swap.
yeah.
Please. Uh-oh.
Oh! Undefeated week.
What? It's all the way there. What'd you get?
Swap with someone.
Oh, well.
That's the second time
Hold
you've
on.
gotten that.
Okay, so you have to draw now.
Oh, right.
So you have to get a. Yeah. What?
I did
You don't get to look at the one you're picking.
I'm gonna get the Suns now.
I hope so. Clippers.
God.
Oh, I heard they play.
Actually pretty
Are you
good.
sure you don't want to wait? There might be a better option. Give Rob the glove.
I like it though. I kind of, it's nice.
Give me the glove.
Tear it out.
Jeez. Just give me the glove. Wait, I can't. All right.
Don't look.
My
I'm
ball's,
not looking.
my ball's in there. You know.
Nope. Knicks.
That can't happen.
Not taking that.
They shouldn't even be in there. You got the Knicks.
Well, last week.
Oh my god.
Oh God. I don't know if that's better or.
I got the Kings.
Rob stuck with the Kings.
Jesus Christ.
my only hope to survive this month is Rob.
I'm on that comeback, baby.
You had a chance with Jason too, but it's
All right,
over.
so to recap, Justin drew an undefeated week, but Jason drew the swap, so he was able to swap and stole the undefeated week from Justin. Justin, you ended up with the Clippers. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I
be
like how you
worse.
made him say.
Who are
Yeah, that's
playing
great.
on the road all 3 games.
Oh, the Kings,
Oh,
God,
no.
this is so disappointing.
Could be worse. I mean, all right, and Jason, you're over there with an undefeated week.
I won.
Automatic 3-0. And Rob
Kings have 4 this week.
with the
Oh my God.
even better.
All 4 on the road. At Miami, at Orlando, and a back-to-back. Then at Atlanta, at Milwaukee. So
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, those are.
you've got some winnable.
Yeah,
you've
that's
got some
not
winnable
bad.
games, but they are all on the road.
And it's the Kings.
Yeah.
Well, also
Don't
they've
forget.
won 2 in a row. So hey, here's the other thing.
They're due.
They're
They're
not-
not.
They're
you
due
get-
to go 0-4.
He gets the Warriors, and now he gets an undefeated
Yeah.
week. And
Yeah.
You're the worst.
That's the base.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to Sister Scotch of Oklahoma City for these nice haircuts. They didn't shave Jason's beard, but they may as well have because it would look even better.
They would have looked a lot better. I did it myself, and I regret it.
So thanks to them for the support. Also thanks to Opolis Clothing. Check out their awesome Thunder gear. I'm actually wearing one of them right now. It says, what does it even say?
The Brody Strikes Back.
Brody Strikes Back. It's good
It's a
stuff.
badass shirt.
OpolisClothing.com. Thunder hosts the Clippers tomorrow. Me and Rob will be back with an Aftershock after that. Heading to Charlotte on Thursday. Aftershock after that. Friday at Washington. And we got a full podcast on Saturday. So get us out of here,
That's
Justin.
gonna be a fun one.
But she's a black magic woman, and she's trying to make a devil out of me.
Thunder up. Santana.